I think people think that Eric is this political figure, but I would say, Eric, I think you're most comfortable, hunting, growing companies, cheering on your team, cheering on our country. And I just thought, you know what? People need to hear that side of Eric Trump. And so I invited Eric to come to our business conferences. And people said to me, they said, Clay, I had no idea that Eric was running a multi-billion-dollar company with thousands of employees. And I said, yeah. And he started doing it at the age of 33. And by the way, his father was teaching him how to grow and to mold him into that role. Starting at age 12, Eric's working on construction sites. He's cutting rebar at the age of 13. He's building walls at the age of 14.
Hello, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. And today we have two very special guests. Like they're young enough to be my sons because they're Donald Trump Sr. and I are the same age. But we have Clay Clark and Eric Trump. Let me explain what Clay Clark does. Clay is out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He's a hardcore educator of entrepreneurship. And, Clay, the best thing you can say about a teacher is what do their students do? And your students are kicking ass. And so to your congregation, I call it a congregation because what Clay Clark has out there is almost a church. It's a religious experience to talk about entrepreneurship and capitalism. And please tell your group, if you cut them, they bleed red, white, and blue. They're so hardcore capitalist America. You make America rich again and all that. So Clay, fantastic. So welcome to the show, Clay.
I really do appreciate you, Robert. And Robert, I want you to know all 77 counties in Oklahoma voted for Trump. So it is true. If you cut an Oklahoman, they will bleed red, white, and blue.
Yeah, they're solid, good people. Bill O'Reilly talked about just recently about how evil is taking over America. And with that, we lead to my friend Eric Trump. And Don Trump Jr. and Eric Trump and I have seen the best and the worst of each other. I mean, Don Jr. and Eric have taken me to their home at Trump Tower, and Eric invited me to his wedding at Mar-a-Lago. And you guys are like kings. I mean, I have never seen such wealth as your family puts out, but it doesn't go to their heads. And Don Jr. and Eric Trump and I, we would fly to this private island in Hawaii. There's no toilets, no running water. You get to know each other fairly well. You start to stink immediately. You have to eat what you kill. And Don Jr. and Eric Trump are solid young men. I still remember you guys were going through the Walmart or something in Kauai, Hawaii. Somebody looked at Trump, and they're the most gracious people, both Don Jr. and Eric. And I went hunting with them upstate New York, and both Don Jr. and Eric go in the back where the workers are working. And they said hello to all the workers. But Don Jr. and Eric are the most gracious young men and a great example of America.
Yeah, thank you, my friend. Thank you. It's very nice.
And then their father and I have written 2 books together. There was going to be a third book, but one day I was talking to your dad. He says, "I'm sorry, Robert, I'm running for president." I said, "I'll drop to my knees and pray for you tonight." And now I see what he's done and tell you, Dad, I'm so proud of him.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Absolutely.
He's brought more peace to this world. He's got the guts. Whereas, you can tell what a person is by what they do. Your father puts a wall up and Biden takes the wall down. Yeah. And then now they have to send in ICE agents to bring these people out of here. Yeah. And they get shot at. Yeah. And the last thing I want to plug is that Charlie Kirk and I did an event at Arizona State University. And it was the professors, 39 professors attacked us. They told the students at Arizona State that if you showed up for Charlie Kirk and myself speaking on capitalism, they'd fail them. So I had to call in my legislature stepped in here. Carol Lake was one of them. She works with your dad now. But to go after the professors at Arizona State. This is my long introduction to say we're in trouble. And we have evil, as Bill was saying. He keeps saying evil is when evil happens when evil goes after people doing good things. And both Clay and Eric, you guys are doing great, great work for people. So honored to have you as part of my program.
Thanks so much, Robert.
Yes. I got to ask, what's it like? There's no kings. What's happening?
I mean, obviously, Robert, we're going to talk about it in a little while. I wrote a book called, Under Siege, and the siege that they put us under is normally what kings try and do to people, not democracy. So I find it highly, highly, highly ironic. I mean, my father's created the greatest economy we've ever had. Brought inflation down to normal levels. I mean, under Joe Biden, the inflation was at 10%. I mean, median incomes was going up by about 3%. Inflation was going up by 10%. So everybody in the world was getting crammed down by 7%, unless you're one of the guys like us who own hard assets, right? But it was destroying everybody. Energy costs were destroying absolutely everybody. You couldn't find a 2x4 at a Home Depot, right? The supply chain problem run by Pete Buttigieg, who happened to take paternity leave while, you had hundreds of boats outside of the port of LA, was crushing absolutely everybody. And you had wars all over the world. You'd never had any wars under my father. In fact, my father was the one guy who never got into war, but you saw what happened with Russia and Ukraine and how that war broke out. And you saw how the Middle East went from total stability under my father in his first term to total lack of stability. And you saw men my size start swimming in women's sports. And you saw DEI ruin every corporate, every company around the country. And you saw, these movements to defund law enforcement. And you saw absolutely anarchy. And we lost our respect. We lost the respect of America around the world. And it's really interesting. My father comes in, and what does he do? He restores democracy. He, first of all, has the popular vote. He wins every swing state, right? I mean, every state in the country went to the right. It was an absolute mandate. It was one of the greatest political beatings in the history of the country. And now we've got normal inflation. We've got the largest tax reduction in the history of our nation across the board. You know that better than anybody. You see, drill, baby, drill. It's working because energy costs are coming down tremendously. We're becoming energy, independent again. We're energy independent under my father's first term. And then we lost that because, Biden decided to cripple the energy industry. And now we're energy independent again. We're actually exporting energy for the first time again. And all these industries are coming back to America. So crypto industry is obviously being embraced by America and leading the way, which I'm really proud of because I'm part of it. The energy industry, and I'm not just talking about oil and gas. I'm talking about nuclear SMRs are leading the way. Yeah. We appear in the Middle East again. We're respected again. I don't know. I don't think this is something that a king would do. I think this is something that a great leader would do. We're far from kings. I mean, listen, kings have perpetual terms in office. My father's going to be out of there in 3-year period of time. But it is infuriating to see these people, these men dressed up in tutus, destroying our streets and acting like idiots. It's hard to imagine that they're taken seriously by anybody.
So anyway, the way Clay Clark and Eric and I got together was out in Tulsa. And, so if you cut those, you cut your, I shouldn't call them a congregation, but it was real spirituality. Clay, your group are really spiritual, good, hardworking people. And that was fantastic. I just love them. So please hello to them for me. And what you're doing out there is how we fight back. The reason Eric's father and I wrote 2 books together is we have to teach capitalism. We have to teach capitalism. And Clay, you're doing a great job of teaching capitalism. So what are you up to these days since I last saw you in Tulsa? Please hello to your
Well, first off, Robert, I brought props for today's show. So this is prop number 1, okay? Robert, your book here, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Eric's read the book too, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but your Rich Dad Investor's Guide, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, your book actually changed my life. And I'm going to put this up here. You can take a screenshot. No, I'm serious. I read this book. Eric, I think your father required you to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad as well. And all I know is I read your book and I grew up without money. And I thought, you know what? I could go from an employee to being self-employed, to being a business owner, to being an investor. And I've done it. And along the way, I've met some great people. But if it wasn't for your roadmap, I probably would not be where I am today. And so I just want everyone to know you absolutely changed my life, and everybody needs to know that. Also, Eric's book, and I mean this is not a shameless plug. This is real, and it's shameless. Eric's book, in his book, he talks about how he runs a company while being perpetually under siege. And that's one thing in your book that I didn't get, and this isn't a criticism of your book. I just didn't recognize when you have hundreds of employees, that every day you would be kind of under siege. Now, your home's not going to get raided by the FBI, and you're not going to be sued and subpoenaed. Eric is, I think, America's most subpoenaed person. But when you're self-employed, you are perpetually under siege. And Eric, in your book, you have an entire chapter in this thing devoted to talking about how you are a husband, a business guy, the son of the president, but yet you found a way to compartmentalize. Eric, could you explain that? Because to me, in this book, that's a life-changing chapter for somebody.
Yeah, listen, you learn to compartmentalize, not because you necessarily want to, because you learn you have to, Clay. You know, again, I thought when my father came to me when I was 33 years old and said, honey, I want you to run the company. You know, I'm going to go do something else. I want to run for president. I need you to run the company. And you're the right guy. You built all our assets. You managed most of our teams. You know, I want you to take it over. I thought I'd have this glorious life. I mean, especially after winning of, hey, go run the hotels, go build the hotels, build the golf courses. And never did I ever think I was going to be exactly that, under siege. Never did I think I was going to get 112 subpoenas. Never did I think that they were going to try and bankrupt our company, come after us, leak all of our tax returns. The IRS leaked all my father's tax returns, all of my tax returns. 90 corporate employees, they leaked every one of their tax returns to the New York Times and to other media outlets. They made up the Russian dossier. They made up they said we had secret servers in the basement of Trump Tower communicating with the Kremlin. It was nonsense. They made up the dirty dossier, which was that my father was doing unthinkable things that he wasn't. Hillary Clinton was paying for that, and the Democrats were paying for that. Never did I think that we were going to get indicted 91 times for doing nothing wrong. Never did I think I was going to have a judgment of $600 million thrown on our company for paying off every loan, for making Deutsche Bank hundreds of millions of dollars, for lenders who came in and testified in the courtroom that we were platinum borrowers, that we were the best of the best, and that we were considered the golden whale. Everybody wanted our business because we were so good at what we did. Never did I think that was going to happen. Never did I think we were going to lose our First Amendment right, our freedom of speech. Never did I think that they were going to gag order us in every jurisdiction. Never did I think that they were going to come after us with every DA in New York, every DA and AG in Fulton County, Georgia, in Washington, D.C., and try and make our lives hell. And guess what, guys? You have to compartmentalize it. Clay, the question is, you don't have a choice sometimes. Sometimes you just have to fight certain battles. And that's what I had to do. I had to go out and I had to fight these battles. And thank God we won every single one of them. We won the indictments. We overturned the judgments. You know, we created our own social media platforms. You know, we beat these guys. And then we came back to have the most decisive victory in the history of politics in 2024. So not only did we win the siege, and not only did we beat them and survive what was intended to otherwise kill us, but we came back to win the entire thing, and the world's a better place because of it.
Well, I can't read your book, Under Siege, you know what I mean? Because, I know you and your brother intimately, like when you're sleeping on the sand and you're eating what you killed that day and there's no toilets and, you're hot and stinky and these guys do not ask for anything. And then you go to their home at Mar-a-Lago, like I said, went to Eric's wedding, and then they go to Trump Tower. It's, I hate to say this, Eric, you guys live like kings.
We're not kings. No kings. No kings. We're not kings.
And
I want nothing to do with politics. No kings.
But you guys definitely are capitalists is the big difference.
Yeah.
And that's what Clay teaches. I mean, Clay, what you're doing with your group out there is spectacular. So your father, Eric, we fight back by teaching capitalism. And that's what Clay's doing. That's what you're doing, Eric, and all this. So Clay and Eric, you guys are doing an event out in Anaheim or something?
Anaheim, California. It's thrivetimeshow.com. That's the website. It's thrivetimeshow.com. And for anybody, Robert, this is for your audience here. Anybody who does buy a copy of this book, Under Siege, if you text me proof of purchase to my cell phone, Robert, we're going to keep this private between you and Eric and me and your audience. This is my cell phone number. If they text proof of purchase to my cell phone number, they're entered in for a chance to win a backstage pass to the business conference. That's December 4th and 5th, Anaheim. It's Anaheim, California. And it's going to be a packed house. We'll have about 500 entrepreneurs there. We're going to teach you finance and marketing and sales and search engine optimization, everything you need to know to start and grow a successful company. Again, that website is thrivetimeshow.com. So you buy a copy of Under Siege right here, and then you text me proof of purchase, and you're entered in for a chance to win a backstage pass. And Robert, our events, they're $250 for a ticket or whatever price that you can afford to pay. So if you're in a tight spot, We'll help you out too. So it's going to be a blasty blast. It's a 2-day interactive workshop. And at the last one, Eric broke down time management, promoting from within, finance, branding, marketing. It really is a profound opportunity to hear from somebody who runs a multi-billion-dollar organization. And I would describe the event, Robert, as life-changing.
One more time, when is it? And what's Anaheim and what time?
Yeah. Anaheim, California, December 4th and 5th. So the month of Christmas, December 4th and 5th. That's thrivetimeshow.com. Anaheim, California, December 4th and 5th, thrivetimeshow.com.
Okay, so when we come back, we'll be going more into, we fight back by getting rich. We fight back by being capitalist. And the difference between a Marxist and a capitalist is this. Marxists are very feminine. Capitalists are masculine. And, capitalists fight by, they don't fight with their feelings. They fight with facts. And that's different than a capitalist and a Marxist. Capitalists have to fight with the facts. And these Marxists fight with their their feelings. So we'll be right back, and more with Clay and Eric. Thank you. We'll be right back.
I wrote years ago that the biggest crash in world history was coming. The crash is happening now. Baby boomers are losing their retirements. Many will be forced to move in with their kids. It breaks my heart. I have warned you about this for decades. The problem is simple. People trusted paper assets. They believed saving dollars was safe, but inflation is destroying their savings. Cash is turning to trash. The only way out is with real assets, gold, and especially silver. Silver just broke $50 an ounce. 75 could be next. Maybe even 100. That's why I want you to get the Rich Dad 2025 Silver Forecast Guide. You will learn why silver's rise is only the beginning and how to move part of your IRA or 401k into physical silver, tax-free, penalty-free. Call 866-703-9895 or text SILVER to 24999. The crash is here. Do not wait until your savings disappear. Call 866-703-9895 or text SILVER to 24999. Silver is real money for a world in crisis.
Welcome back. Our guest today, Clay Clark, is from Tulsa. I went to his event. It's spectacular compound he's got out there. It's massive. And Eric Trump, where I met Eric long before that, but we were speakers together at Clay Clark's place. And the reason we're talking about this, about what's in the news today, is no kings. But the thing is, both Clay, Eric, myself, and your dad, we want people to have the same. It's called capitalism. And so that's why you're having this event in Anaheim in December. We fight for capitalism. But I'll give you my story here because I wore this especially for you guys here. Vietnam, class of 66. So when I was 19 years old, I was shipped off to Vietnam. I was a midshipman, a student, and killed a lot of people. I was a U.S. Marine, and we lost a lot of friends. My classmates didn't come back. But when we came back, the reason Under Siege is so accurate as a title, Eric, and was when we landed back in the States at Norton Air Force Base in north of San Francisco. The hippies hit us with rotten eggs and spit on us. And so for about 5 years, we got spit on, hit with eggs and all this. And these hippies are today our leaders. I make a joke about it, and I don't know if it's true or not. But I remember I'm walking through these hippies are hitting us with these frickin' rotten duck eggs. They're horrible. And spitting on us. And I jokingly say, I think I saw Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi out there. Yeah. And
Highly likely.
they're now leading our country. So we really are more than under siege right now. We're coming apart. And we have now a mayor running for city of New York, hardcore Marxist. And gentlemen, I'm honored to be part of this show with you today because let's fight back with education. Let's teach people to get rich because that's what we do here. So once again, Clay, tell us what's going to happen in Anaheim with you and Eric out there.
Well, I mean this sincerely. You know, Eric and I had a chance to connect because we did 20 some odd events together, these Reawaken America events. And, you know, when you're stage side talking to somebody before they go on the stage, Eric and I are talking about to-do lists, our incredible families, our great kids. We're talking about growing companies, promoting from within, and we're talking about management and all these sorts of things. And I think that a lot of times people think that Eric, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I think people think that Eric is this political figure. But I would say, Eric, I think you're most comfortable, hunting, growing companies, cheering on your team, cheering on our country. And I just thought, you know what? People need to hear that side of Eric Trump. And so I invited Eric to come to our business conferences. And people said to me, they said, Clay, I had no idea that Eric was running a multi-billion-dollar company with thousands of employees. And I said, yeah. And he started doing it at the age of 33. And by the way, his father was teaching him how to grow and to mold him into that role. Starting at age 12, Eric's working on construction sites. He's cutting rebar at the age of 13. He's building walls at the age of 14. So really, when you come to our workshops, what you're going to learn is Eric does a phenomenal job teaching about just the brass tacks of time management, does a great job talking about managing an organization, and then does a great job casting a vision for your business and for our country. I mean, even despite the fact our country's under siege, Eric, your father is building a big, beautiful ballroom and paying for it himself. So despite the fact you're under siege, you still have this great vision for America. So if you're watching this right now and you feel stuck and you're going, I don't know what poor choices I've made, but somehow I found myself on thrivetimeshow.com. I'm telling you, buy a ticket and your life is going to change. Just like your book, Robert Kiyosaki, your book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Changed My Life. I promise you these interactive, 2-day interactive business workshops can change your life. And although as a country, we're going through a lot, and it can be heavy, Eric does a phenomenal job of teaching you how to navigate being under siege while doing it with a smile on your face and having a great vision for a great America that I believe we can build together, one business at a time.
And let me add one more thing. It's like our problem is academics. It's the Marxists who run our school system. I don't know if you know this, but the Federal Reserve Bank teaches finance at Harvard. And the Fed is one of the, I have some comments about the Fed. But anyway, I was on stage with Charlie Kirk in Phoenix, Arizona, at Arizona State University. And it was the professors that came after us. So here's this young guy, Charlie Kirk, was he 31? Somebody takes him out. You go, holy mackerel. It could have been a school teacher. We've gone so far left Marxist. I wrote a book called The Capitalist Manifesto. And what I found out is in 1930, Columbia University's Teachers College invited, from the Frankfurt School in Germany, they invited professors who teach Marxism to Columbia University's Teachers College. So that was in 1930. And actually, the class of 66 in Vietnam were protesting those Kent State. Protests broke out all over the world. They hate America. They hate us. My poor dad was an academic. And what he hated was that a guy like me, or my rich dad especially, my rich dad never went to school, but he was a rich man. And all an academic has is a PhD. When you think about the vast differences, plus you have AI coming in right now, and all those, doctors and lawyers and all that, they're going to lose their jobs. So what Clay, you're doing, what Eric, you guys are doing, we have to teach capitalism. We must teach entrepreneurship. This is my book here, Midas Touch, about teaching entrepreneurship. We fight back with education because our education is rotten, it's cancerous right now. Any comments there, Eric?
Listen, I think that's right. I think that's absolutely right. You look at the indoctrination of these kids across college campuses is insane. You look at the revisionist history that they're teaching. They're literally rewriting the history books, right now. And they hate who we are and they hate what we stand for. And what breaks my heart about that, Robert, is we live in the greatest, capitalistic country in the world. We have the greatest entrepreneurs in the world in America. I mean, I want to put this in perspective. Our economy is a $32.5 trillion economy, and we've got 340 million people. China is a $22.5 trillion economy, and they've got 1.5 billion people roughly. Estimates vary; that they track it a little bit less, but roughly 1.5, 1.6 billion people. So we effectively have an economy that's a third larger that's $10 trillion larger off of a population that's 1/6 the size. We are the greatest capitalists in the world, right? But how do you get to be a great capitalist? And first of all, you need the right mentality. You need to be pushed. You need to be educated. You need to have low energy costs, right? Obviously, low energy costs really factor into everybody's business. You've got to have reasonable regulation, right? You can't over-regulate companies, otherwise they fail to be able to exist. Hence, Europe and how poorly Europe is doing because they say no to absolutely everything. You have to have proper tax code. Why do you have to have proper tax code? Because you have to be able to thrive and you have to be able to succeed, and you want to actually have companies want to stay in America as opposed to go abroad where they might have more favorable tax treatment. All of these things are necessary, and all of these things my father is doing. We can never lose our ability to be the number one superpower in the world. We can never lose the United States dollar as a reserve currency of the world. No one wants any of the Asian currencies. Guess what? They all want the US dollar. No one wants the euro. No one wants a pound. You know what they want? They want the dollar. No one wants any of the currencies in Africa. They all want the US dollar.
Well,
And we can never, ever give that up. And listen, you can never allow college professors to indoctrinate our children, to say that they're anything less than the best, to say that America is anything less than the greatest country on earth, right? But you just can't allow it to ever happen. That will defeat America faster than you could possibly imagine. And so Charlie fought back, and we fought back. And what's amazing, they thought they could kill Charlie Kirk, right? And I talk about this in the book. Charlie was a good friend of mine. And by the way, Charlie's death was them putting us under siege. They thought they could kill Charlie and take a voice off the stage. What they actually did was they took 5 decades of voters and they made sure that those voters voted conservative because they lost one of their heroes that day. And you think those people are ever going to vote for the radical left who killed their icon? Of course not, right? We need to make sure that we educate our kids both in the classroom and as to the actual realities of society and the realities of government, and make sure that we win every single election for every single position and make sure that America remains the superpower of the world. Otherwise this country's got no hope. Otherwise, our greatest days were behind us. And I refuse to allow, myself to believe that that's the case. And we refuse to allow America to get there.
Well, and that's why I love what your dad did with the Genius Act and stable coins and all that. I don't know if people know what you're doing. I mean, you and your family are leading in crypto. But I thought the Genius Act was pure genius.
Sure, because guess what? Stable coins, Robert will get every dollar from every foreign country on the US dollar and do so instantaneously, right? I mean, that's the beauty. If you live down in Zimbabwe, you have over 1,000% inflation every single year. You go to work, you get a paycheck, that paycheck is gone the next day because of inflation. Congratulations. Now using a nifty little thing called an iPhone or whatever, any flip phone, you can have a digital asset wallet. You can convert whatever, your paycheck was to US dollars, vis-a-vis stable coins that can be traded 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with virtually zero fees. America will absorb trillions and trillions of dollars worth of wealth. And by the way, a stable coin is pegged 1-to-1 against, it's the dollar pegged to 1-to-1 against, things like short-term treasury bills, et cetera, et cetera. So what does that do? That takes trillions of dollars into the American market. What my father is doing is actually saving the United States dollar, embracing cryptocurrency. Yeah. Before you even talk about Bitcoin and using it as the greatest store of value, I really believe that Bitcoin is, I know, Robert, you're the biggest proponent of gold. And I'm the biggest proponent of digital gold. I think Bitcoin will replace gold, in the years to come. I think those are some of the two of the greatest hard assets that are out there. And you've seen the run up in price of gold, and you've seen the run up in price of Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin's compounded 70% a year over year for the last 10-year period of time. So I'm fully in crypto, but the Genius Act and all of the crypto legislation has put us as the number one country in the world for cryptocurrency, and everybody's trying to follow.
I speak at the Vancouver Resource Conference, and I'll speak at the New Orleans Gold Mining Conference. And I have good news for those guys at Vancouver and New Orleans Resource Conference, because the Genius Act is going to make the gold guys even richer. I mean, what your father did, the Genius Act is frickin' genius. Really, really genius. And the average protester, they're like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, they're clueless. They don't know what the Genius Act is going to do for world prosperity. So that's why I'm very optimistic, and I'm glad your dad and your family has taken the lead in crypto.
Well, Robert, none of these people have ever had jobs, right? I mean, you look at Joe Biden. Joe Biden has literally been, I mean, he was in government for 56 years, right? I'm a 41-year-old guy. So that guy was in government 15 years longer than I've been alive, and I've got gray in my beard. He never had to manage employees. He never had to balance a checkbook. He never needed to make payroll. He never had long sleepless nights not knowing how he was going to survive the next day. He never had turmoil. He never had government shutdowns during COVID where they called me up and said, congratulations, every one of your hotels is hereby closed. You still have real estate taxes to pay. You still have utilities to pay. You still have, employees to pay. You still have, all your bills and expenses, other than the fact you're missing one thing, is a little thing called revenue. They've never had these situations, yet they're the people who legislate, the very laws that govern how our businesses in our country work. And they don't have a damn idea how our businesses work.
What you're doing out in Tulsa is stunning, solid entrepreneurship. So congratulations on that. And we fight back with, educating people to be entrepreneurs that get rich again. Otherwise, they're going to say this, you owe me a living, who's that Marxist running for city mayor of New York City. He's going to give everything away to the poor people. And again, the last thing is this: watch what a person does, not what they say. Your father put the wall up. Biden took the wall down. So where's the battle right now? ICE offices. It's all they're trying to get is immigrants out of there. I'm not against immigration because I'm an immigrant, not five generations ago. But it's killing it's killing England, it's killing Germany. Just allowing people to come in and just take over a country is nuts. So I appreciate you. One more time, Clay. When's this?
Yeah, well, first off, everybody, if you buy a copy of Under Siege, and I know you're going to, you want to text my number, 918-851-0102, for a chance to win a backstage pass for the upcoming business workshop, December 4th and 5th in Anaheim, California. Eric's book, Under Siege, I promise you, folks, it's a life-changing book. And I mean this sincerely, Robert Kiyosaki. Your books have changed my life. And I know Eric's read them, I've read them, and I'm honored to be here on your broadcast with you. And I want Eric to know this. Eric, Robert has been talking a lot about crypto and gold now. He's doing the crypto and gold move. He's going crypto and gold. So I really am excited, though, to meet your listeners there, Robert, in beautiful Anaheim, California, December 4th and 5th.
Yeah. And one last thing about Eric. I think your father's going to go down in history as one of the greatest presidents ever.
I do too.
So proud of him. I'm proud of all of you.
Yeah,
so I'm proud of the two as young men, and miss Charlie Kirk, but we're under siege, really. So thank you. Thanks
for having us on, Robert.
Thank you. Heck with a final word from Rich Dad. Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. I want to thank Clay Clark. He's from Tulsa, and Eric Trump. They're very fine young men. It's like I said, I did a talk at Arizona State University with Charlie Kirk, and you know what happened to Charlie Kirk? Ladies and gentlemen, the war is inside our school system. That's where the Marxists are growing. So we fight back with capitalism. Remember this, a Marxist fights with feelings, A capitalist fights back with facts. And there's a very big difference right now because this gap between rich and poor is getting too wide. And what do you do about it? You give people money, give them free everything, only makes us more Marxists. So that's why I created the Rich Dad Company with my wife, Kim, 1996, created the Cash Flow board game. So people could teach people about capitalism. So I thank you for being part of the Rich Dad neighborhood. Let's fight back. We fight back with financial education. And may you get richer and richer and richer by teaching more and more people the Cash Flow board game. And then you learn, we'll get richer. We don't have to go and kill each other. So thank you all for being part of the Rich Dad program.
This podcast is a presentation of Rich Dad Media Network.